There are shows in this world that we will never fully understand, except Ghost Adventures. We have watched every episode to build our obsession, our fandom.
Watching alongside each other because no one we know really gives a damn. Watching Zach and crew catch groundbreaking proof of the paranormal, inspiring us to explore our own interest in otherworldly phenomena. This is our podcast. We are Paranormal Putas. What the numbers looking like?
Been around the world, nah. I can't find my baby.
I don't know when, I don't know why.
Why he's gone nowhere. And, that's the last lyric I know. So I will go intro. Hey, it's me, Leah.
And it's me, Bethany.
And we're the Paranormal Putas.
Woo!
And we're back, baby, with a personal episode featuring the one, the only Sara Reeves.
Ooh, I got chills.
Ooh, are they multiplying?
And I might be losing control.
We're super pumped about this one. We first heard of Sarah's existence while listening to episodes of the Night Owl podcast, and we just absolutely enjoyed when the show brought her in because she was just so cool. She is a medium and she just really picks up on some cool stuff. So that's how we know of Sarah. But we first got to meet Sarah at a Glass Coffin event.
And that was really cool because she knew who we were. Or like she saw our tent and she was like, holy shit, this is like my people's. And that was really cool.
Oh, yeah. When she came up and she was like, I'm Sarah. And I was like, wait. Like the Sarah? Like Sarah. Like yeah. Sara Reeves? So I might have lost my shit. But she was just so cool and chatted with us for a second and was like, yeah, we got to link up. And it finally happened. The stars officially aligned for us. And we're just super excited. And she's just so cool. We hope you enjoy. Sarah, we are so excited to have you here with us this afternoon. First and foremost, thank you. As we kind of previously talked about, we've been trying to have you really since like year one. So this has really been like a 4-year buildup for us. So we're kind of also fangirling. So forgive us if we just kind of, rambled on a little bit. But of course, we're here to have you talk about your journey and the things that you're involved in and your paranormal experiences.
Well, I like it. And thank you guys. No, I'm honored to be here. I know we talked, I think in person like 2 years ago. Like, I don't know, it's been a bit.
Yeah.
Right. And since then I've been like, I got to get on there. Right. And of course, Jennifer Trevino was like, when the hell are you going to be on that thing? I'm like, I get it. The timing's been just
crazy.
Weird.
Yes.
We got this now.
Yes. And we're very thankful. And we love Jennifer. So yes. Shout out to Jennifer. She's been such a huge support and yeah, we adore her.
Yes. She is the best. She is awesome. And she was a very huge supporter of when I was on Night Owl, and it still continues to be my huge supporter. So I really love her to death. Yes.
Oh yeah. She's great. So yeah, Sarah, I don't know if you want to kick off. Usually we ask our guests to go over their most, like either their first paranormal experience, or I guess when you kind of notice things were maybe a little bit different for you, and then kind of walk us through anything that is, I guess, I'll say it profound, but I know with your background that might be hard to do. So
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that question. That's a lot. I've told people, different stories, and I usually do the same one, but I think I want to give you guys something a little bit different because it's really fun, right? My true first experience, unknowing that I could do this, right? That one of those kinds of things. I'll give you that one, and it's really from a childhood, really weird thing, and it's kind of. In my childhood, I have hit or miss memories, like those kinds of things like, oh yeah, I kind of know, or I see myself in pictures and I'm like, I was there. What the fuck? Right? And what happened? I have pictures of me outside of San Antonio, like Corpus Christi, and I was like, when the fuck did that happen? Right? Like, when? And my mom's like, come on, you don't remember? I was like, I fucking don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember none of that. But and I will tell you, like, I'm going to say, I'm not using the word profound because the word profound is actually defining a completely different situation. If you want to hear about that one, then that's perfectly fine. We can do that one too.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with my extreme, like, absolute first, like, in my knowledge of something
Yeah.
that was like, that's weird.
Yeah. Okay. I love it.
But yet not weird, right? Versus my first, like, actual, like, I understood that was, I was like, oh, that was a ghost, right? Like, that was the thing. So I'm going to tell you my very, very first weird. And you can hold this one because I'm not going to tell the story to anybody else. So if somebody else wants to hear it, they're going to have to come to Paranormal with us to hear it. Nobody else is going to get it because no one else has ever gotten it. So we're going to get it. But I like you ladies, so I'm going to give you this one. Right? So when I was really, and I'm going to say really, really young, must have been maybe about 5 or 6 years old, right? So you guys not knowing my background, I grew up in a foster home, right? So I grew up in somebody else's house. And during that transition, we had like social workers and things, and we would go to the offices and do that kind of stuff. And there was one particular very round white man, right, that used to sit in this office. Now, to this day, because of the way that I was a kid at the time, I don't really understand what he did. I think like he was some kind of a weird director or something like that was in there, but I didn't really understand what he did. For me, he was the dude that had candy in his office, and he was a lot of fun, right? He had games and shit we would play, and he would chat with me. So my mind says, I think he was like a counselor or something like that, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because of the setup, like the way that I'm remembering the office as an adult, I'm like, I think he was one of those kid counselors that was like, hey, are you fucked up because you're a kid? Yeah, sure. Show me how you're fucked up by drawing this picture, right? Like that's kind of like what it was. So I was like, I think it was this dude. And I really took a liking to this dude. I really liked him a lot. Right. So I was always excited when we go into the office and be like, oh, I'm going to get to hang around with him and he's going to make me chat and I'm going to get to like eat candy out of the bowls and make him laugh and then I'm going to leave. Right. Like that's kind of how it was. So I remember my counselor showing up to the house, talking to my mom, and they looked very serious. Like this was a very serious. Now, when they have serious things to do to kids, please don't do this, adults. They stare at the kid. And then they go back to whispering and then they stare at the kid. And then you think, what the fuck is wrong with me? Right? Because that's what you think when you're little. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I get into trouble? Are they going to do something weird? Whatever. So they keep doing that. And I was like, okay, I don't get it. So then, my counselor, she comes and she goes, hey, I need to, let's talk a little bit. This is what's going on. But the way she explained it was like, this dude is no longer going to be there. Right? That was how she said it. And I was like, oh, like he went away or, on a vacation or a trip or whatever. They're like, well, he's just going someplace and he's not going to be coming back. I was kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'm sorry I didn't get to say, goodbye. He didn't even say goodbye to any. And she just didn't answer. She just kind of went, yeah. That's okay. So I was like, all right, fine. So fast forward, I think they were doing like the memorial service for him or something like that. And we all went to the office building, right? And they had like all this stuff and people were all there. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on. All these kids were there, right? From the home and all this. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds nice. And I just walked into his office. Right? Because it's kind of like, oh, his office is over there. I'm going to walk in there, right? And kind of see, he packed stuff or did he do something, right? My mind thinking, oh, he just went away. So I walk into his office and he's sitting behind his desk. And I was like, oh, I thought you were leaving. He goes, I was leaving or I am going to leave, but I wanted to say goodbye. And I was like, oh, well, that's nice. And he's like, do you want to draw me something or do you want to do something? I was like, yeah, why don't we color together? Like, why don't we sit down and talk? And he was talking about how he was going to leave and how beautiful the place was that he was going to. And he's like, but, I'm always going to be around. If you really need me, you just need to think about me and I'll show up. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Right. And we're having this whole conversation while we're coloring and chatting with him. And I'm just kind of sitting in there. And he's like, okay, well, how about you grab that bowl of candy and just grab a couple candies out of there and go see what your mom is doing, right? They're probably out in the front. And he's giving me this whole thing. We had this whole conversation. I was sitting there with this man for like maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, because I thought it was really weird that, he was cutting it kind of short. And I said, okay, well, I hope you have a good trip. I hope you have a lot of fun, right? And, well, we'll see you later. He says, yeah, I'll see you later. It sounds good. You be good. I said, all right, cool. So I grab a couple of fistful of candy, right? Of course, because I'm greedy, right? And I just walk out the door like blah, 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 blah. And everybody's talking about how he's not there anymore. And he's like that. I was like, what are you talking about? He's in his office. And I just see like people look at me like, this poor thing. Ta pinche loca esta way. Okay? I was like, what do you mean? Like, he was just like, literally, I just like, look at me, I got candy. He told me I could have some. And everybody's just like, oh, she really misses him. She really liked it. He was so close to you, right? They're all talking around me. And I was like, bitches, he's up in this motherfucking. I was like, look, I'll go walk over there. Walked in, no one's there. Office is empty. But the picture that we were coloring is on his desk. And it wasn't just me. The colors he was using were also on the piece of paper. And I was like, see, we were coloring together. Everybody just assumed that was me. Right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat my candy. Y'all are fucking weird, right? They're weird, right? Not me. So I was like, all right. So that is truly, truly like in my memory, the very first experience that I had that I can consciously remember and know that it was weird. But it was weird for me that the other people didn't experience him. It wasn't weird that I experienced him. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say anything like, you're fucking crazy, right? Like, don't say anything. But he was just like, hey, we'll see you later. Cool. Right? No big deal. He came to say goodbye.
Oh my goodness.
It made me like all emotional.
That was an emotional story.
Are you emotional?
Yeah, like, oh my goodness.
I'm out there crying and shit.
Yeah.
It's been an emotional day for us, okay? No, but that's that is and something that we really enjoy about hearing these stories. So thank you for sharing that, is really how beautiful they can be sometimes. And I think that's nice to have that moment where you did get to say that goodbye, right? And have that. I think, yeah, that's just something that's really powerful. And thank you so much for sharing that first experience. I'm like, oh, I'm honored to have it.
Only you guys will have it. I won't talk about it unless somebody brings it up and goes, hey, that time that you were on Paranormal, because I'll be like, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. I'm sorry if you said this already. Around how old were you?
I was maybe about 5 or 6. And I remember being really, really young, because then my next experience is the one that I've always talked about seeing my grandmother's mother. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and that was when I was a little older. I was about 7 or 8 when she passed. So it was like one of those really weird things. I think it was that moment where I started kind of connecting the dots of like things that other people could see and things only I could see. Right. I was like, you can't see it. It was that weird, like, you can't see that? Like, that's weird. Like, I know it's like right the fuck there. Right. Like, oh, right. And I just thought everybody else was just missing, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I think we, because a lot of the stories we hear in people when they're younger, it's usually around that timeline. So we hear like 5, 6, 7, but no later than 8. So 8 and younger, we start hearing people. I don't know what it is with our development or what stage that is in our lives where people tend to have more of those experiences, or that's where it really kind of kicks off for a lot of people is around that age range. So I think that's really interesting to also hear that parallel, because we've heard that multiple times when people experience something at a younger age. Somewhere.
I believe that age group, in that age group is really the first time that as young children, we are able to express ourselves better, where we have the language to say, hey, here's this thing that's kind of going on. And we're still in the awareness, right? It's not like little babies and stuff. They smile at shit all the time or stare at corners and everybody's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Right. But it's the first time, I think, in your life frame where you have the words to express what you're experiencing, and then the confusion that people aren't experiencing the same thing, where you realize, oh, this isn't normal, right? This isn't what everybody can see. And that's kind of the frame where you're at in that age group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So, it's deep. We're in deep conversation.
It really is. No, I love it.
I'm wondering, did you ever see him again?
I did. I saw him again as a teenager, preteen, I should say, like somewhere between 12, 13, 14, somewhere around, because I was fucking some shit up, right? Wasn't that? Those are the ages where I was fucking shit up.
Yes.
And or things were happening, and he would show up every now and then, but I think he showed up in the moments to remind me of certain things that we always talked about together. And it was really just me not truly believing when people would say things that were bad about me, right? It was like one of those things that I was different, because I was different. You have to remember I'm half black, half Hispanic, black on the outside, right? Caramel on the inside. And so people have judgment the moment they lay eyes on me. And being in that environment, I grew up in West Texas, I stood out like a sore thumb. And a lot of that community had opinions about it, right? Had opinions about it. And he was always of that mindset of said, do not believe the bad things. Do not believe the things they say about you. Do not get stereotyped into those frames. You are not any of those things. And he always kind of harped on that as he was younger. And I think it was just from the circumstance of why I ended up there. So he was like, don't let that define you. Don't let them define you. And he was very much that person. And it was weird that I remember those conversations specifically with him, but I guess I just liked him so much, right? Having been able to have that talk, that I do remember a lot of the things that he told me, even if it's just bits and pieces of it, to understand how to apply it today. So yeah, I was fucking some shit up, and he was like, bitch, don't live the stereotype, right?
Like, I told you about this. Yeah. No, that's great. And you said it right. He said, like, you're gonna be okay. And I think it's nice to know. And I'm glad Bethany asked the follow-up question, because he was there to kind of help in those moments as well. So that's really nice to hear. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So you mentioned kind of, and I have heard this story before in regards to your mother's mother. Is that kind of, as we timeline your experiences, is that the next milestone for you, or these things like you?
No, actually, the next. Well, hold on, let me think. I have to really think about the order and things happen, because I have I really need to like create like a actual like annual, like a year, like grab a year, because somewhere around there I did my Holy First Communion and had a really weird fucking experience during that time too. So I was like, it's somewhere within like all of that frame, right? And so I don't remember if that came first or if my mom's experience first. I just remember that that's the one that really stood out. Yeah. To go, wow, that's like, I get it that they didn't see this one, but this is fucking nuts, right? Like, like what's wrong with me? Is something wrong with me? No. Okay.
That you got me all thrown off.
I'm sorry. I won't look at you.
Hey, stop looking eyes like that. That's not.
I know. I'm like, stop it. No. So yeah. Oh, that'll get cut out. We're not worried about it.
We're gonna cut it out, but I can see. We cannot.
I know. No, and really, and that's kind of what gets me. I'm not gonna lie. I might be nervous, because like understanding your background and your abilities, like, and is that something that's easy for you to, I guess now, right, being where you are in your life, is that something that you really can kind of turn on, turn off, or how do you navigate?
There's no such thing as turn on, turn off.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah, right? It's on all the time.
There's a dampener, right? If we want to, there's a dampen setting, dampen this out, right? But there's no turn on, turn off, really, and things like that. And dampen, I say, because I know you're nervous about it, but I don't, like, people meet me and they think, oh shit, she can, like, does she know about all my skeletons in my closet? Right, like that. I freak out, right, about it. You know, and I'm like, no, I don't. I dampen stuff out, and that's your stuff. And if there's things you don't want me to see, right, or hear or feel, I won't do it. I just can't get it, right? I have to have your permission to be able to do a deeper dive, right, and to be able to go in there. And even then, there's still things that are kind of walled off. So the things you don't want me to know, I'm essentially not going to know it. I'm going to know that there's something there. Yeah. And it's maybe if it has an impact on your energy or how you're talking to yourself, right? Maybe that frame, I might just go, hey, whatever it is that you have in that trunk or the back of the closet, it's impacting you. So maybe you need to like wrestle around with that a little bit. I don't know exactly what it is. And I try not to even mention it, because even when I just say that, people are like, fuck, did you see it?
Yeah. Like, no. But I think that's just so wild to me, because something that me and Bethany talk about, like, while we're really interested in the paranormal and we've had experiences, like, I don't know how open we really are to receiving a lot of those things, right? And like, for me, I feel like the more and more that we kind of have these conversations and go into these topics, I feel myself becoming more open. So like when I saw you starting to do like metaphysical you, I was like, that's really cool, because I would love to take the time to really understand what all this energy is, or what I'm really picking up on, or is that just me? And like you said, like, am I crazy? Is it something different, or is it really me being able to connect with something more? So I think it's really cool to have this conversation with you, because you're there, right? Like you're navigating these circumstances. So just to kind of hear the experiences and now how you're correlating it to building a community around it and helping people kind of harness in on these things, I just think it's really cool. So understanding more of your background and how it got us there is just really kind of fascinating to me. So I'm like I said, I'm kind of fangirling about it, but I'm also kind of like freaking out, like, oh my God, like I have so many things I want to ask, but I also don't want to fuck up this episode. So
we'll just break it up into multiple episodes.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Yeah,
know,
there you
right?
go.
Yeah.
That always happens.
We'll do the, like they do it in the TV world. We'll do part of them in yours. We'll do part of them in mine, and part of them in yours. We'll go back and
Oh my
forth.
God, I love that.
A ping pong.
Let's do it, please.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be like, oh, we got to do the crossover. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So sorry, that was my tangent. Are you making notes? Or you
No, most people are in the same tangent as you are, right? They're in the same frame where they're like, hey, if I keep doing this, what's going to happen? But here's the thing. You're born with this, right? This is not a present or a gift. It doesn't make me fucking special. It's just that I'm, accepting what's there.
Right.
And the more you accept what's there, the more you're going to end up changing, and things are going to happen because you do accept it, right? Right now, you're like, hey, I accept the fact that there's ghosts out there. Great. So that when a ghost shows up, you might be a little freaked out about it, but you're like, oh shit, that happened, right? You guys look at each other and go, fuck, did you see that thing that's floating in the fucking air? That's a thing, right? Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. So you're allowing that acceptance to kind of come in, and then more and more things, as you get better at it, more and more things kind of happen. I use the analogy of everybody can walk, right? Everybody can walk and everybody can run a little bit, right? And I say a little bit because there's degrees of running, right? Yeah. My degree of running is to just like a light jog to the fridge to grab that beer, right? Like that's my degree of running. But it's the same way, right? Everybody starts off crawling, then walking, and then they eventually start running a little bit. And it's the difference between you wanting to be somebody who wants to jog around the block every now and then, right? Not often. I'll jog around the block maybe once a week, right? Versus somebody who's like, fuck that, I'm going to train for a marathon. I'm going to go do a marathon once a year versus 4 or 5 times a year, right? And then you kind of just keep going. Oh, okay, well, if I'm going to do a marathon, now maybe I want to do like track and field in the Olympics. Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Do that major shit, right? Do that across the whole country of Alaska run. I don't know, whatever the fuck it is. But the idea is to have the variation of things. So everybody has this intuition. It is about your willingness to understand, where do you want to train to? Do you want to train to jog around the block once a week? Cool. Right? Maybe go for a little sprint every time when you're feeling spry, you put yourself in that situation. Or maybe you really are that marathon person who's like, hey, 4 times a year I do this marathon and I train for it, and it's a different kind of marathon each time. Yeah. Or no, I want to go to the Olympics, so I need a fucking sponsor and fucking Nike and fucking, right? Like I got to get the shoes and the trainers and all I want to get there. So it just depends on where do you want to go, but your intuition is your intuition. Nobody can take that away from you. It's just about understanding, are you using it? Are you really wanting to apply I accept that something is there, or are you just liking to live? Yeah, I'm going to live in this incarnation and enjoy knowing that none of that shit's here. I don't care. I'm great with seeing tangible stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious about the process of like leaning into your mediumship, because you just explained this whole, you kind of choose your path and all that. So yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if you can give us a little bit about like your story and how you embraced it, and maybe some of the things that happened within that time.
Did I embrace it? Oh.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
like a slight side hug, right?
Yeah.
One of those
Christian
awkward,
Christian side hug. Don't touch
Not a
me.
full front like, ooh, it's more like a side hug. Right? Embracing it is an interesting word because it's not, I don't know, it's just one of those things for me. It's not a full embrace yet. Not yet. I think full embrace, I'd probably die. Be like, there it is. I understand all the cosmos, right?
Just turns
I'm
into light.
I'm just a light tap, when you're like, just tapping somebody's shoulder. Really, I understood I could do this, right? I can understand this from a young age. I could do this whole time. It wasn't until, I met, Stephen and team. And mind you, they were so young and so adorable. They're pinches little babies. They were so cute, right? With their hair and all the things. All they're wearing black, right? So cute. But, it wasn't until they were like, hey, the problem is you, right? And I went, oh, fuck yeah, the problem is me, right? Like, shit. Right. It's that realization that hit, I had gone so many years kind of, I want to call it asleep, right? Just really running on intuition because I needed to survive, but not necessarily because I needed to be in the awareness of what was going on, nor was I ready to grow inside spiritually. I wasn't ready yet. I was just going, hey, I've got kids and I'm married and I moved and I hate my life right now sometimes. And I've got to make sure I get a good job. So can I trust that this guy's telling me the truth? Can I trust to move into this frame and then just follow the opportunities as they went? That was the way that I used my intuition then. And then I just kind of went for it, right? I just guided myself around until I got what I needed. But when I fully, to use the word embraced, was when I was doing it on purpose. When I was really going, I purposefully want to understand all of these things. Even though I had meandered my way through multiple religions and volunteered at different places, and the knowledge, I was seeking knowledge all of the time, I wasn't ready to apply the knowledge yet. That was like the key thing. So once I wake up, people have the spiritual awakenings and those kinds of things, it's because they're now ready to apply what they know, where they've gone through all these crazy fucking experiences in their life, and mine have been nuts, right? I'm actually shocked that you and I are sitting here today from all the bullshit that I remember. I did some shit, right? Did some shit in my youth. Experienced and put myself into situations that, when I think back on, I go, mother, how many times I could have died? That's fucking stupid, right? Like, in a foreign country, right? Because I lived in a border city, right? Like, it's like the reality of it when you really start thinking about it. And back then you were just like, let me go party. It's okay. I got 50 cents to cross, right? It was just weird, like to just put myself in all of these crazy situations and then to be here and go, wow, that was dumb, right? Like, that truly was guides and, the universe trying to make sure I didn't die before I got to this point in time. To apply all of that knowledge and be there and understand people who are going through the same exact thing, maybe not in the same barrage of shit, but that are going through the same situations in different parallels, to be able to have that and apply the techniques and the stuff that I've learned along the way. So I wasn't ready for it. And when it finally came to fruition and said, hey, look, you can't ignore this anymore. You're going to have to do it. Then it was truly me going, well, fuck. I guess I've got to learn some shit. And when truly applying what you're doing, it changes who you are. It changes who you are at the very core. And people aren't prepared for that. So I will tell you, people who are like, I want to know, I want to develop, I want to do my thing. 90% of what I do is self-work, a lot of it. Because we're always changing. So if you are somebody who really wants to learn your intuition, just know that everything changes all the fucking time. If you don't like change, you might reconsider. Reconsider learning this, because it truly is you having to change your energy, change your aspect, change the way that you view things, and constantly think, I'm not perfect. I'm just good, until something challenges me in that point. To look at it and go, wait, I did not see this perspective. I did not understand this perspective. How much of this do I want to take on to myself? And how much do I want to just let go of? And you continue to move through your life that way. But you can remain in the awareness of saying, yeah, these things happen. I'm going to see a floating head every now and then. I'm going to see these dark shadows, and I can't assume that they're bad every time I see them. I have to see and really sit with it and ask myself, do I really need to be afraid in this moment? Or is it just because I got startled and that's why I'm scared?
Also, so and you mentioned, right, Steven and crew, and that's really how we came across you initially, right? We were big fans of the Night Owl podcast, and to hear you going into locations in a city that we grew up in was just a really cool thing, and something that we really admire. So I think kind of leaning into that aspect, working with that show and doing what you guys did, it sounds like all of those locations definitely had an impact, right? Or you definitely had there was some
that was
really
trial by
ones.
fire, right? That was pretty much like Steven going, let's go here, let's go there, and then he didn't tell me shit, so I show up like, what the fuck?
No, and I kind of love that aspect though of the show, right? He'll say, hey, we're not going to tell Sarah anything, this is what's going on, and it was just such a good dynamic. And then to hear you go into these spaces, so just kind of curious, is there any location or any specific episode we can kind of go to where maybe there were things that either were cut or something that you experienced, or maybe you can't share that, right? Or just something that really kind of sticks out while working.
He pretty much never cut anything out.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at, everything that was there, right? It was really weird. I think because I was in the stage of still, because this is like, that's the first time I was like publicly working with the public or doing something like that, where I took what I already had the knowledge and then kind of applied it and didn't really understand the application. I was like, whoa, here's this weird situation. How do I deal with it? And then all of a sudden the knowledge would just come in, right? It was just a really weird situation most of the time we're there. So there was not a lot of stuff that was cut out. I think the only thing that you guys as listeners didn't understand was the things that were going on in my brain. So I, like you, would listen to the episodes after and go, fuck me, if I had said this, right? I had written it down. Like sometimes I would write notes down and stuff, and I would write the phrase down, or I would write something down, but I wouldn't say it out loud because I would thought it was irrelevant, right? I was like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. And so then later on, I just learned to just say everything, right? Versus keeping some things to myself. Because I was like, shit, if I had said just this one phrase, that would have put the little nail in the coffin. It would have been perfect, right? It would have been awesome. No pun intended. It would have been awesome, right? To be able to see that. And so that kind of helped me understand, to trust that everything I got was a real thing. I think the hardest part for me was like the clay pit part, because I had a heart attacks during that frame. And seeing all of those shadows and the things that I was experiencing didn't have anything to do with the building. It had everything to do with me. So it was one of those like weird kind of things for me to kind of go through that frame. So it really was trusting. And then I was very insistent about the fire, right? I was insisting that the fire happened. And Steven was like, oh no, there's times where I think I made him sweat at night, like dreaming about like, what the fuck? Do I include it? Do I not? Like, what do I do? And then when he would find stuff, it would stun me too, because I was so persistent about it. I was like, this really did happen. This was a thing. And for him to find the things, like find the evidence, I was just as shocked as you guys were. Right. That's great. So good, yeah. I'm not completely insane, right? I'm a little bit, but not completely. That was always fun. So I think those are the things that you guys didn't get to hear on your end, because my brain was always full of stuff, of images and things that were kind of going on, and I could only pick and choose the things that I needed to in the moment that made sense to me. But there's a lot of stuff that didn't come out of my mouth because I didn't think it was something that was important at the time. And then later on, when I listen, I go, the other, I'm like, I should have. And then I look at my notebook, like, put that in the note. Damn it, right? I get so mad at myself for not doing that. Yeah. So as we kind of move forward, I just say whatever flies out. I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care. Here are the things. Here are the things.
Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah, that's cool. Earlier you were talking about how you mentioned like, I'll see a floating head or whatever, and you can't I just love that, you can't assume that it's, bad or whatever. You have to sit with it, right? I'm curious to know, have you ever, tried to channel or sit with an entity or whatever, and then did you ever feel like tricked or that it was trying, like, did
Oh
anything
yeah,
ever? Yeah.
multiple times. I've sat with it, sat with a couple of things that I was like, are you stupid? Right? Did you just try to trick me? Right?
Yeah.
But it didn't. It took me a little bit. I had to really understand. So when you're doing this, there is a light language that you learn. There's a language in the spirit world that you learn. And sometimes it'll repeat itself and you're not quite sure why it keeps coming up. So to give you an example, when I'm reading somebody like a person, right? I'm reading a person. If they say, hey, I need to understand how my finances are going, how my money is going. For the longest time that somebody would say that, I would see a revolving door. It would immediately just show up. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it just kept doing that. And I did not put it together that the revolving door was a symbol for me to say something to them. Right. So it was like really weird. So when you're meeting a spirit that initially comes, and says, this is what I am. And then I start kind of asking the questions. It took me a long time to really understand how it felt coming across. And I say feel because it truly is a feel. It's feeling in the energy and really understanding the energy that's coming across, whether it be negative or positive. There were some that would show up like, I'm a demon, right? I'm a malevolent spirit. I'm going to go do that. And then I'd be like, it doesn't feel like that. Right? Like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And it would have to go through that frame of wearing them down. Wearing down until they were like, okay, no, I'm just like a fucking spirit that I represent this. No, you idiot. Right. So it truly was understanding how it felt and not getting caught up in what they were wanting me to hear versus moving that aside to say, okay, but how do I actually feel, and reaching for my own guides to say, what is this? Right. I do have help. I'm not going in there blindsided. Right. Yeah. I'm like, hey, come on now. This person's saying this. What do you? They're like, right? And back in, they're like, pendejos, right? Like that. Let's go check it out. And then to understand the very severity of the situation that I got in. So Renee, I love him to death, but he does have what we gently call him the double walker, right? Because it's a variation of himself that looks just like him. And he shows up. But later on in life, we just found out that it's actually a guide that both of us share. And he would take on his person so that I wouldn't get scared when he showed up, when I was first kind of having weird things happen. I would think it was Renee in the room, but it was actually not. It was this guide, right? That was in the room. So he was always wearing the same color pattern, the same color clothing, right? It looked essentially like a double walking frame, right? It looked just like him. So he knew to mask that way. But when I came into situations, really weird situations, like at the tavern or in the murder house, or he would just show up. Like all of a sudden he would just go boom. And the moment he never did that. So the moment that he would show up, I knew, pay attention, something's going on here, right? Either there's a lie in progress or there's a danger in progress, and we need to figure out what the danger is. Where is the danger? And so I had to really understand these little signals, these feelings, the things that would appear to tell me the facts and put everything together to know, oh, this truly is a malevolent spirit. This one that's lost, this one that's there. That's a fucking demon. Let's leave that shit alone, right? Like, let's leave it alone. That's a thing. Leave it alone. That's a jinn. That's a this. That's a that. It would tell me, but that comes over time and experience of understanding kind of everything is there. If that answers your question, I don't know if that answers a very big ramble for answering your question. I'm sorry.
No, I think it did. Yeah. Yeah, I was just, because I mean, I'm not in tune like that. So I think it's one of the reasons I like to stay closed off is because I don't want to be bamboozled.
Bamboozled. But the fun part is, checking them on their bamboozling, right? Yeah. I think it's fun when I discover it. I go, you fucking liar, right? And you get in there, get all mad at them, like, yeah. I'm like, no, well, that's just wrong. To me, that's more fun than staying in the dark. I like to be like, you liar. Oh, yeah. And then, so
you
right?
wild. Walking on the wild side.
Walking on the wild side. What's happening?
Something that you mentioned, like you kind of mentioned, like, oh, that's a jinn, that's a demon, and various
right.
things. Something that I've heard mentioned in one of the episodes that you worked on with Night Owl, and something that Bethany experienced at a house we grew up in East Austin. And I kind of just want your perspective on it. I think, was the word elemental or something along those lines? Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
elemental.
yeah. So that just blew my mind. And the way you described them was just so, oh my God, like if one, horrific, but also just so powerful. And something that Bethany experienced, some of the feedback we got, because we had someone kind of tune into the location, and she just mentioned like it was just really old and it was there before the house, and it kind of made me think, oh, could that have been like an elemental type thing? So just kind of curious, and something that I always thought, if I ever get to talk to Sarah, I want to know specifically like what
I want to know what it is.
yeah, like what is that?
What is an elemental?
Please, like in your best way, how do you describe that to someone like me who's just like, what?
What's an elemental? First of all, East Austin has lots of crazy shit, so it's not necessarily could be something other than an elemental, but I don't know. I'd have to look at the spot.
Yeah.
But the idea of an elemental, it truly is something that is nature based, right? It's a nature based entity essentially, and the nature based entity could take on pretty much any visual way that it needs to appear. But energetically, if we're just looking at its energy itself, it's tasked with making sure that the space itself, like whatever the space is, is it's balanced, it's protected, it's like all the things around in it have that frame. And they truly are, when we say elements, they are made of the elements. They are made of something that is earth, something that is fire, something that is wind, something that is minerals, something that is, right, all of the elements kind of built together. And they have a humanoidish quality to them, but they're not human, right? They're just a little bit different. When they come across, though, they typically range from something that's maybe around our size and bigger. And when I say bigger, I mean like big.
Yeah.
Huge.
If I remember the episode right, it sounded like a massive,
huge.
like
Yeah.
just bigger than life, like
Big
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Big things, right? They're enormous. But what scares most people from them is the fact that they are emotion neutral. So they're not like us. We're designed to connect through almost like a form of emotion or sympathy, right? That's the first way that we connect. That's the most common way that we connect to each other. It's like, oh, I can feel that they're angry or they're sad or they're happy or whatever it is, right? We connect to that first, because then it keeps us safe. That's part of our intuition. Our bubble of safety, right? When we're assessing somebody, we're looking for that feeling, like, do they feel menacing? And the emotion neutral person always gives us the creepy vibes. Because this is somebody who has mastered that illusion of emotion neutral. And we're looking, or they understand how to mask it so much that we're not quite sure what kind of fucking emotion they're in. So they give us the creepy vibes, even though their face goes, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, fuck that.
The energy ain't matching.
Yeah.
The way your face is looking. Like,
Yeah.
Your face says hello, but your whole energy says fuck off. And I'm like,
Heard. Yeah.
I need to like move away from you. Right? The serial killer is what it says. Okay?
yeah.
So
That's what I was thinking too.
elementals come across emotion neutral, but not because they're going to harm you. It is simply just because they don't have the emotions like we do. It's just different, right? They're more about like the logic parts of things. So imagine if you made a decision without any emotion in it. Logic, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how they are. And they come across that way. Plus, they're also very flighty, right? Like very like, you don't really know how they're going to take something. You're like, I'm just going to tiptoe over here, right? Because you just don't really know how they're going to take it. But once they understand that you have a innate respect for the space, the land, of listening to them, they do come kind of close to give you some advice.
Yeah.
And it's, or to talk to you, or just to be around you, right? They give you that caution, but they are not something that you want to trifle with, right? Like they're not something that I want to be like, let me pull energy from an elemental. Fuck no. I'm gonna do that shit, right? I don't want none of that. I don't want to be tied to any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all just do your thing. And they usually won't. They won't give up that frame. But elementals are not like Fae. They're not the same, right? Those are not the same
Yeah.
Yeah.
species, for lack of a better word. They're not the same species.
Yeah.
They truly are something that is deep from the earth, and they have a set way of doing things, right? The earth has to be balanced and secular. And when you go in there and you start destroying things and doing stuff, well, it's in their frame to try to protect it or try to rebalance the energy itself.
Yeah.
So don't trifle with them. They're a little bit weird, a little
No.
bit different. But the idea is that they're present. And if you can respect the space that you're in and know that they're there when they present themselves in an honored kind of fashion, they will respect your space and understand you as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And that's what gave me the impression, like, in Bethany's scenario, I was like, maybe it is an elemental, because it was just, but again, hearing your explanation of it, I was like, that's wild, and something that just kind of fascinates me. And because and I think we kind of mentioned it earlier, like, you got to really kind of the self work and the spirituality and being kind of connected with yourself to really kind of accept additional things and working through that. That's something that I'm personally trying to be better at, right? And I think kind of sitting in nature and understanding that it's all kind of inner workings of that, I think really why the elemental kind of fascinates me, because it's all a part of.
Yeah, I'll tell you, elementals are probably the most fascinating things, to come across, kind of like cryptids and things like that. They fall along that folklore line of, was it true or was it not true? Was it just a story or was it this or that?
Yeah.
But remember that every story has an element of truth to it. So you're really trying to understand which element is it. What part was true? Because fuck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds hard to decipher. I don't know.
Yeah. Like a Krampus to me is like an elemental form, right? Somebody talks about Krampus in Christmas time.
Oh,
I'm like, I think that's like an angry elemental, maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
For
right?
sure.
The folklore behind it, I'm like, maybe we don't mess with that one.
That's cool. Before you told us about the elemental, you mentioned like the east side has a lot of stuff. I'm curious to kind of dig into that. What have you seen on the east side?
East Side Austin is really interesting. I think there's a lot of mix of stuff, right? There's a lot of mix of stuff. And I think too, because culturally, there's a lot of things there that people believed before it became gentrified East Austin. So a lot of the people that lived there were really native to the community, right? They really understood and brought an energy to that community that was very different, a creativity, a rhythm.
Yeah.
And when that rhythm got displaced, it displaced a lot of the spirits, a lot of the earth elements, a lot of the native elements that were there, a lot of the created, I'm going to say like created egregors, people are going to like that, the creative manifestations of energy that people that used to be in that community created.
Yeah.
And they were so used to having those people there that now that everything's been displaced, there's a lot of weird shit popping off there. And people don't understand that. When you go in and you completely change a whole neighborhood or a whole section of land, you're going to get some repercussions from that, especially when you did it so abruptly and so fast. Yeah. And the people that were there kind of managing, I guess the best word I could say is managing the energy or kind of balancing the energy, they're no longer there. And so people who are moving into their newly built houses after they've demolished stuff are going to have weird shit happen to them in their house, right? It's just going to happen. And it's not because somebody I cursed the land. Like, it's none of that shit. It's just that you displaced all the energy. Right. Kind of similar to like remodeling your house, right? If you're going to remodel your house, talk to your fucking house and let it know.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to tear a fucking wall down, right? Does anybody object, right? Like, or we need to do it for this reason or whatever. Talk to your environment, talk to that frame, because it is counting on, just like you count on your house to protect you from the storms and the elements and like all, other things. You are also protecting it. You are, giving it love, painting it, putting that love of you inside of it and creating that energy. So when you go in there and you just demolish somebody's energy that way, you bought a new house and you're like, I hate everything, tear all the walls out. Fucking tell the house, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the new owner. This is how I think, and have some frame of your own intuition that says, maybe I shouldn't tear that wall down. Yeah. Or maybe I shouldn't put that couch there. You really kind of feel it. Don't just willy-nilly go in there and like, pummel everything through. Right? Don't be like me, wake up and hate everything and just take a sledgehammer to it, right? Damn the consequences, right? No, like really, really talk to your house, talk to the frame, do that kind of thing. It's important. And so imagine this happening to an entire fucking neighborhood.
Right.
People who had been there for many, 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 many years, businesses that had a rhythm, a function in that space that are now gone. And these elements of nature, maybe the native spirits that were honored in that frame or got used to understanding that they would talk to them outside, even nature itself, when we're looking at like birds and things like that, they know when the rhythm is not right. They'll know that. And so things are going to happen. Shit's going to pop off. East Austin's like that. Every time I go over to East Austin, I'm like, what the fuck?
I have the same reaction.
Yeah, right.
It's
What
like,
the fuck
is this, man? Like,
Shit, right? What is this?
I just get
That's why I love that
angry.
City Alchemist is out there, because it's like a little oasis. All of a sudden I'm like, oh,
Yes.
and here we go.
Yes.
I'm going to go there.
Yeah, Alexis was telling us that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We had the opportunity to talk with him last week, and I think it's funny because I know we're getting close to our hour, and I feel it's very similar. Like in our conversation with Alexis, I was like, we didn't even like scratch the surface. Like, I mean, for both of y'all, it's just so cool, and what y'all are invested in, how y'all impact the community, and the things y'all are doing to keep certain practices, just alive, but also, aligned to what they really should be, and keeping that energy aligned. So I think that it's really cool to have that and to see that. And
it's important too.
So important.
I think Alexis mentioned, in the age of having people on TikToks just, they'll read a wiki article and think they're a pro, so having people, having people.
I'm going to tell you, my team back here is like, you guys, you should do a TikTok. And I'm so against this shit.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm against social media. You guys know that I post randomly.
Yeah.
And very rarely. I'm not the person that's like, oh, let's just like, fuck that shit. I don't need to know
it's
what
a pain in the ass.
I don't need to know. People need to know that if I'm farting today, right? I don't know.
But we want to know.
Tell us, Sarah. Damn it.
I'm kidding. Right. It was a spiritual fart. Smelled like Palo Santo. Like, no, I don't care. Right. So I'm not, so I have someone that's like, you really should do this. And I was like, look, if I can map it out, knock out all the recordings out in one day, you edit it and you post them, you knock yourself out. I'll open the TikTok, you do that. But it bothers me. It bothers me when I see practitioners that are just spouting all kinds of bullshit in there. So to me, I don't want to counteract that as a reactive frame. And that's why I'm like, nah, I don't give a fuck about TikTok. People who need to really learn the truth are going to find me.
Yeah.
People who understand the way their intuition works are going to find Alexis, and they're going to find Eric, and they're going to find the people that actually make fucking sense.
Mm-hmm.
These people are taking advantage and making my practice be a fucking bad household name. It's kind of like in the old days where they were like, oh, the psychics that would like, have wires and fucking right in the background, and then scientists would come and debunk them, all their shit. Like, it's like having that. And so it's very difficult for me to be like, yeah, like I'm an intuitive worker. I, do this, or I'm a medium, or I'm doing that kind of frame. Because the moment that I say those words, it has this negative connotation because of these TikTokers or these things that are kind of going on, right? And the stupid little, oh, do this challenge. Fuck off. Don't do a goddamn challenge. If it doesn't make any sense, don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's stupid. Let me go swallow a whole vial full of cinnamon. Pendejos. How did you not know that wasn't going to hurt you?
Yeah.
So use your common sense. Really understand what makes sense and what your body tells you when it says no. Listen to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the no. So no, I don't do the social media weird shit, and it really bothers me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would I'm sure I would get into some rant conversation back and forth with some idiot, and then like hate myself for it the next day, or maybe not, right? But I say maybe, we'll see. Right? But it's just, stay away from that stuff. That's just dumb. It's just garbage. If you really want to learn, don't fucking don't go Google a la chingada.
That's so fair. Yeah.
My mentor, Elaine Ireland, she is amazing. She was like, honey, don't Google that shit. Go to the library. Do you know what a library is? It means they have books that are there for free, right? Yeah. Go to the oldest book you can find on the topic. Read there and move yourself forward in time. Yeah. That will make sense, because everything that we're talking about today is just a regurgitation of what there was written
Yes.
in the 1930s, in the 1920s, in the 19. It's the same shit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, perfect.
I'll do that.
Don't Google. Don't Google. I mean, you can Google to do a start, but find the oldest print of it, find the oldest book of it, find the sound and the words that actually make sense to you. Don't just take it at face value. And for God's sakes, think about it, because one person's going to say blue means paradise, and the other says blue means sadness, and the other one's going to say blue means nothing, right? And then you go, who the trust your intuition to tell you what blue means?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ah,
Right.
mic drop.
Yeah, for real, bro. Boom.
As I sip another sip of my beer.
No, and such a bummer. I think we're like, did you have another
Well,
question?
I was just gonna say, like, before.
Look, I'm good, girls. I'm good till 7. We're good. Let's just do it.
And I know you have your event too later tonight,
Yeah.
so I for sure want to be mindful of time.
Yeah, we want to respect your time, but I was gonna ask, like, before, we ask you to tell the audience like everything that you're up to right now.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there were any other like last minute little stories or anything you wanted to tell for this episode.
No, I was actually just gonna ask you guys like what your guys' favorite movies are, because it's really fun when you guys go through those things. Like, you got favorite scary movies. Like, I'm not a really big scary movie person because some movies are like very close to what I experienced. I'm like, oh, that's how I judge like good scary movies. I'm like, oh no, that's real. That's really real.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
good
What's
thing.
a
That's-
real one?
¿Cuál es? A ver, right? So I'll tell you like bits and pieces of movies. So I really liked, it's a Mexican movie called Escalofrío. If you've never seen it, it's really, really good. It's really, really good. And I love the way that it's depicting the way that this guy's like experiencing a spirit, right? It's awesome. It's very, very in the real, in the now, but it's called Escalofrío. That's kind of like, I would say on the top genres are my favorite ones. And then I do like Poltergeist, but I like the cheesiness of it. And I think that's one of those fun things. Like when I was younger, it didn't really scare me. I thought it was really funny that the girl was like throwing up on everybody and like saying fucking freaky things. And then it's like, oh, it's awesome. I think that's really fun, right? The Conjuring has a great way of depicting the way that mediums experience something. I think that's a really great series of movies that really show like that's what happens. The gray space, the way that things fall away and just let you focus on certain things. And people don't understand that sometimes that experience, if you're immersed in it, especially if you're in like a trance channel or something and you're immersed in the frame, the outside doesn't really come in. And so you're kind of immersed in that frame, so that it has a really good way of depicting those kinds of things. Although, of course, they Hollywoodized it, right? And everything's a fucking demon. But that's, that's Hollywood. They want to, everything's a goddamn
sensational,
demon,
right? Sensationalize it.
It's all of that. And then what's the other one? The Shining, the second. Shining is good because that actually makes sense. The way that they're telepathically speaking, the way that they're experiencing things, where you kind of think you're going crazy, but you're not going crazy. That's kind of fun. Right? That's a fun way. But they also had a great depiction of astral travel, which I thought was really fun, like remote viewing and astral traveling. They did a good depiction of that in the second. What is it called? Something. Dr.
McGregor, Dr.
Oh yeah, that was a good movie.
Really good.
That's right.
That was a really great the way of depict. They must have actually talked to, like, you can tell the films where they actually talked to like somebody who was a medium and psychic and been like, how would this experience actually map out? You can see that they did the work. They did the work behind it. And to have a good graphic person that you can talk to and say, this is what I'm experiencing, and they can make that shit happen on TV. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
And I think they did a good job of it.
Yeah, no, those are some really good movies too. Yeah, that's awesome.
No, that's cool to know,
Yeah, if you haven't seen Escalofrío, you need to see it. If
we
you
will.
I have it on old school style DVD, right?
Oh yeah.
But I do have it on old school style DVD. It's a fantastic movie. It's a fantastic movie.
Oh yeah, no, well,
it doesn't end like you think it does. That's what I like.
That's always so good. A good twist ending.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Well, no, I guess any other questions, comments?
Not from me.
It's good jokes. I love good jokes. If you got a good dad joke, this is the time.
I'm terrible. I get dad jokes. I'm so not like. It has to, for me, I can't think of like jokes or anything. Like it has to just come out of my mouth and I can't think about it. You know what I mean? Like it just has to happen.
Like I wouldn't be a good stand-up comedian. Like I
No.
can't free-write jokes or anything like that. Like it's definitely all on the fly. My moments of genius are few and far between. Spurts, and it's just like, whoa, she's funny, and it's like, well, it was a moment. It was a moment.
I was funny in that moment.
Yes,
I
yes.
She was riding that wave.
That's the Mexican sarcasm, dude. That's not fucking.
That's true. That's very true.
I grew up
too.
in all that shit.
Yeah.
You say
Yes,
funny
yes.
shit in the moment. It's fantastic.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
really not meant to be funny. It's meant to be super
Insulting.
sarcastic.
Yeah.
Either
Oh,
insulting or
my God.
sarcastic. Yes.
When her and my dad get into a room, it's just like ping ponging, bow, 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 bow. And I'm like, I don't know how y'all do that. And I'm like, I'd be crying by the end of that conversation, but they're like laughing.
Why are you picking on my weaknesses?
Yeah. But then
how
she
we
comes
grew up.
back at him and picks at his, and yeah, it's great. It's great to watch.
Trauma, baby. Trauma.
Trauma in action right there. I mean, I think that's the best part of our community. I think that we fucking traumatize our children to the point where they're like, anything else just runs right off them, right? They're like, fuck that. My parents are harder on me than you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nothing could scare me more. Yeah, no, definitely. That's fantastic. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We would definitely love a follow-up, get to chat with you again. That would be great. But of course, we want to give you the opportunity, let people know where they can find you, learn more about you. So please let our listeners know where they can get all that.
So if you're somebody who wants to kind of learn your intuition, but you're kind of like, I'm a little shy, right? We do have free Wednesday night online development group, and it's every Wednesday. It's been every Wednesday for the last 3 years, right? So every Wednesday, it is again for free. And the link is on our website, www.metaphysicaltheletteru.com. It's right there in the front page. You just click at 8 p.m. Central and voila, you're joining with us. And you just bring your questions, or just listen to what's kind of going on. Don't be shy. I am going to pick on you because it's a lot of fun, because you're new. You're going to tell me who you are just for a little bit, right? Just a little bit of uncomfortableness. But listen to the community, really understand. This is a community of people from around the nation, and a couple of them from different parts of the world. So it is a lot of fun to be able to see the perspectives and the lore of different practitioners who are in different stages of learning, whether when they're just starting off, they just come in to ask a question, they say, hey, I had this dream and I had this situation, or I had this experience. You'd be shocked how you would meet somebody that goes, oh shit, I had that experience too, right? And they'll be able to do that. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to ask you, what were you doing at the time? What was going on? How were you meditating? Was something floating in the, right? We want to know, because we want to replicate the situation. So the idea is, come, bring your questions, bring your thoughts, bring your comments, bring your perspective. This is a community that's not going to be judgmental. There's nobody there that's going to be like, hey, you're an idiot. Like, there's not going to be anything like that, right? It truly is a nice, safe community to be able to come and bring your thoughts and learn from. We just had our first seminar. Oh, we just did it this year. I was so excited. It was one of those like, can I pull it off? Oh, I pulled it off. It was great. So next year in September, we're going to have our second seminar, which is very exciting. So the tickets for that are going to come up in September. So, keep an eye out for those kinds of things. It was a true seminar. It wasn't a metaphysical or psychic fair, like none of that stuff. I went out of my way to make sure I vetted everybody that was in there, that everything was a great topic. So people showed up, had a beautiful time, a wonderful day. They got to meditate and explain shit and listen to speakers and just be, right? A good day of being. So next year, hopefully, will be even better. We'll get a good group of speakers like my little paranormal Buddhas to come out and talk about the things that they do, right? And just be in the community of people. I tend to keep it small so that everybody can feel comfortable and safe and move forward. So the seminar is also coming up. And then, of course, listen to our podcast, MP Unleashed, right? I know we talked about the Night Owl quite a bit, but we've started on our own. We're now going to start season 2. And sorry about you Patreon members. I'm going to get to your extra shit, I promise, in August and September. Right. So it's going to be out there, because that's one of those things that just fell off the chain, and it will happen. But we're starting to grow, and we're learning from our mistakes. Come on, don't be. It was year one. No. It was year one, right? We didn't get it all.
It's the roughest.
And my counterpart, AJ Sanchez, is in California. So that gives a little bit of a rift of us being able to work together. But he is also amazing. So reach out to him at any time. But that's where we are in all the things. Come learn, listen, join the seminar if you can next year. Join all our online stuff. We have an in-person development group today, and then we have one every 4th Saturday of the month. So just so you know, if you want to come meet me live, live. Come on. The next topic is going to be, I believe in September, we're going to have a live seance. So
Nice.
Oh
come
my
and do
goodness.
it. I'll let you can come so you guys
Hell
can.
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That's so great. Thank you again so much. It's just all so awesome. We definitely look forward to hearing and seeing more from you. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming on our show. Seriously. Thank you so
Hell
much.
yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm telling you, it was like years in the making. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it.
No, we understand. It takes
Here
us.
we are.
Yeah, it's hard to align, you know.
It was meant to be this way.
But I like that you guys are like growing and doing stuff. I'm like, look, yeah, look at that.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, we're
I
trying.
love it.
We're out here trying.
We're out
Do
here.
it. Do it. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Thank you.
More to come from y'all. I know it is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very cool. Thank you again, Sarah, and you have a great day.
You guys too. Have a good weekend.
Yeah. I told you it was gonna be a hoot of a time.
That was awesome. I love that. Like, we were pretty much geeking out like the whole time. She's just so talented, and she has incredible stories and just a really beautiful insight into, you know, her spirituality and you know, the world.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think hearing her insights and being able to connect with someone who has those abilities is just so influential, man. Like, I want to open up myself more, and just hearing it is just so cool to hear and see.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. And if you are in the area and you're interested in hanging out with Sarah, talking to her, taking one of her classes, so make sure to check out her website, Metaphysical You, her podcast, MP Unleashed.
Yeah, man, we definitely encourage it. And now I think it's time for us to do just a little cleanse.
Yes, please. I need it.
Omni Rigare Suminaro. Omni Rigare Suminaro.
Take a big deep breath in. Release that baby out. Oh, baby. You're now right in your light.
Ow, I like that, girl.
Do you feel cleansed?
I do.
Awesome. Well, anyways, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. We love you very much. Per usual, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Leah.
And we're signing off with two besitos.
From these putitos.
Wrong one. Womp womp.